Let's take a look at solving by completing the square. So the idea for solving by completing the square is I want to end up with some quantity, some stuff squared equaling some number, because then if I'm trying to get rid of this square, I can take the square root of both sides, and it should be way nicer to solve if I don't have exponents. In order to get to that point, I usually have to do this messy step of adding half of this b term squared to both sides. Let me show you what I mean by that. I've got y squared minus 6y equals 16. My b term is the thing next to just the letter on its own. And pay careful attention to that sign. This is a negative 6. I'm going to figure out what half of that number is, so I'm going to divide that by 2. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And then I'm going to square that thing. So negative times a negative is going to make this positive. A 3 times a 3 is going to make that a 9. So what I'm going to do for this equation, and I got to keep things balanced. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other side. So if I decide to add 9 here, b over 2 squared, I have to add 9 here as well to keep it balanced. On this right side, 16 plus 9 gives me 25. And on this left side, I'm going to see something interesting if I try to factor it. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to give me a positive 9, but add to give me a negative 6. And those numbers are negative 3, negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 gives me 9. Negative 3, take away 3 more, gives me negative 6. So I really have this thing showing up twice. I have y minus 3 squared. And this is not a coincidence. When you are completing the square, you should see your variable, x or y or whatever the case is, minus your b over 2 squared. And it's actually keeping track of the sign for you. So this thing was a minus 3, that's a minus 3, so it's x plus b over 2 squared. That's going to be really nice. So every time I'm completing the square, I'm going to see this b over 2 thing show up on the inside of my factored component. Okay, I added 9 to both sides. I factored. I ended up with y minus 3 squared equaling 25. I still need to solve. So to get rid of this square, I'm going to square root both sides. When you're taking the square root, keep in mind that you can have either a positive or a negative. So positive or negative 25, root 25. And my square is gone on that left side, just y minus 3 now. The square root of 25 is 5. So I have y minus 3 is equal to plus or minus 5. I'm going to add 3 over. And I have y is equal to 3 plus or minus 5. Okay, so I'm going to do this once with the plus. Y equals 3 plus 5, or I'm going to do this once with the minus. Y equals 3 minus 5. If I add 3 and 5 together, that gives me an answer of 8. If I do 3 minus 5, that gives me an answer of negative 2. So I have two solutions here. I'm going to write in my solution set notation. Negative 2, 8 would be my answers to this expression. So one technique for solving, and this is not the only way to solve, I encourage you to try to solve this thing by factoring. In fact, I think you'll find it easier to solve by factoring. But solving by completing the square usually gives us some pretty clean answers. So this is a good way to approach a problem like this. Again, this is completing the square.